SexyHackers.com.
Once upon a time, there were a few young girls with a passion for literature, a love of the written word, an inspired infatuation of... Okay, fine. We were a bunch of super dorks with no friends. We spent all day hiding out in our rooms, reading books that were maybe a little inappropriate.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Who Let Me Read This, the podcast about the inappropriate books of our youth and why on earth did we read them? I'm still not sure, actually, as we get in. So we can make this podcast later in life. Yay! Join us and our group of friends as we talk about the really ridiculous things that we've read and how it's affected our lives.
By costing us a whole lot of money in therapy.
A little bit.
So much.
We're back for week number 2 of Die Softly by Christopher Pike. Laura Holterman picked our book this week.
Gem.
And last week. Mm-hmm. It's fine. I'm Sarah Wallisch. We're joined here today by Michelle White.
Hello.
And Andrea Roedel-Schroeder. Sitting in the luxurious accommodations of Sexy
So beautiful.
Gorgeous. I love these chairs.
I know. Do we look really comfortable?
Yeah.
We are.
I feel like we look really comfortable every week, and it's because we are. Whoa. But a big thank you to sexyhackers.com for producing our content.
Yeah.
And for outfitting us in delightful Sexy Hackers gear.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff.
If you are joining us for the first time, go back and listen to the first episode, too.
Yeah.
I mean... the book is worth it.
Yeah.
But also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. There's a bell. Ring it. It's maybe up here or up here. There. We don't know where
You
it
rang
is.
it. Great job.
You'd think that we would have checked where it was, but we didn't.
We didn't. That's okay.
If you're listening on your podcast app of choice, make sure you give us a review. It helps the algorithm.
Yep.
Internet.
Magic.
It's a series of two
Maths.
So last week... we talked about the beginning of Die Softly by Christopher Pike.
Mm-hmm. It's a whole
Or
mess.
do you want to give us a little recap of what happened last week?
Bet. So we met Herb, our hero, who has been egged on by his dumpy best friend, his words, to take pictures of the cheerleaders in the shower. That's all he wanted to do.
The hero of the book.
Herb is self-described as not particularly smart, attractive, or personable with no skills except photography. So he's pretty shocked when the head cheerleader wants a ride home. And she actually turns out to be pretty nice. How about that?
I was suspicious of that.
But don't worry, hormones went out, and he uses his extensive knowledge to set up a VCR timer to his camera in the locker room to take pictures of them. And then on the next day, on the way to get the film, because it's 1991 so we needed film, Herb comes across a car crash at the exact same place his other best friend's brother, Roger, died 6 months ago in a cocaine-induced car accident. Oh! The driver of the car of this accident is Lisa, his dream girl's bitchy best friend and Roger's girlfriend. What? And turns out she was a long-term coke user, apparently. So
Sure.
that is where we left our hero, shocked and mildly upset. I can't even tell if he's upset by Lisa's death at all.
He was like, I'm so upset, but let me go and get these nudie pictures.
Priorities, right? And those are the couple plot points that we're going to cover today. So Herb gets his pictures.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then we learn all the steps of developing film.
So
many.
steps.
And find out that he got 8 whole pictures out of this endeavor.
I do enjoy the part where he corrects the detective because the detective's like, so it finished at 4:32. He's like, no, 4:28. You can write it down on a piece of paper if you need to. Yep. Like, you know what? You are the dumbest creature in this book, and you're throwing shade at other people's mathematical abilities, Herb.
Well, and he asked the cop, like, but if I admit that I did this, isn't that illegal? And the cop's like, no, absolutely. That's not illegal.
It's about as illegal as lying
tracks,
to you.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Also, you only set it for 4 minutes? Like 8 pictures was it?
Yep.
It seems like a big waste of time.
That whole thing, and you got
8 pictures. Only, I think, there's like 3 or 4 of which actually have something in them.
Yep.
Yeah, it was 4 that had
Nothing.
boobies in them.
Yeah. And 3 had a naked Lisa. Woo! Also a recently dead girl.
Yeah.
And 1 picture of Alexa, his dream girl, creeping up behind Lisa with a bat. What? Creepy. Yeah. So then next up, Alexa calls to say she thinks that Lisa was murdered and that she's being framed because Alexa just got a note saying, "We have a picture of you killing Lisa." Dumbest murder note ever. And Herb tells her, yes, he has those pictures. It's just because somebody gave him the film to develop. Oh, okay. And then Sammy shows up in the middle of things and she's pretty sketchy. That's about it. And then Herb heads over to Alexa's house, but he's being tailed by Lisa's car.
Is it a ghost?
Must be.
I wish it was a
Oh, we should specify Lisa wasn't driving her car when she died. She was driving her boyfriend's car, but now her car is just driving around as far as this idiot is concerned.
Yep. It's a
Was
ghost.
it her dead boyfriend's
I wish it was a
car?
ghost.
Or
No.
was it
No, it was
Alexa's
no,
boyfriend
it was
that they
Alexa's
share.
boyfriend.
This is true,
They have a boyfriend they share.
A little bit.
Like you do.
Right. So it turns out that Steven driving behind Lisa. Steven gets out to kick Herb's
Steven's
ass.
the shared boyfriend.
Yay! And Theo, his other best friend, somehow just shows up and shoots a rifle at Steven.
While being super wasted.
Yo.
Yes.
Like,
Always
super
has the
drunk.
rifle and he's always drunk.
And he drives around a lot and shoots at things a lot, and he's always
While
hammered.
drunk. Yeah. It's not safe.
He's not coping with his brother's death well, to say the very least.
No.
Yep. And then all that melee, Steven runs off with a photo. So, but let's back this up a little bit. So, Herb finally got his pictures. Aw,
Great.
because he put in
Good
so
job,
much effort.
Herb.
Right?
He put in so many pages of effort that we had to read
Yes.
with our own eyes.
so many. Yep. And I don't know, blame credit / Christopher Pike for me actually getting into photography after that. Like, I was like, well, I already know all the steps.
And
in
all of the,
detail.
he's
I
so
guess I
specific
have to
about,
now.
the brands of things and, the specific titles of things.
And he describes this not once, but twice.
Yes.
Yep. How
Because
you
we must have forgot the first time.
We're like Herb. We forget everything.
I did forget the first time because I blocked it out.
But he also lets us know all the ways that he could be using special, more expensive ways to do things. But it's going to be cheap and dirty and quick. And so he'll just use this. We're like,
Because he's got to
"Ugh."
see the boobs.
Just like your mom.
Right?
I had to.
So clearly, it's 1991. Does Herb not have access to porn?
I mean, he talks about having seen Playboys at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. He's got to have access to nudie mags. I mean, come on.
And he's clearly thought about how hot his mom is, so
So then things get a little bit sketchy because Alexa calls, and this is where these phone calls just get ridiculous. They're like back and forth. And she's like, "We have pictures of you killing Lisa." And he's like, "I do have those pictures. I didn't do it. Somebody gave me a note. I don't have the note. I don't know where the note is.
I think I threw it away. It's fine. Don't worry about
I
it.
don't know where I put it. My room's messy."
So I just developed the film. Yeah.
Yep. No
Yep.
question.
and then he immediately lets Alexa convince him that the picture must be from a different time, even though he literally he did it. He set this all up himself. He's the only person who knew where it was set up. He did this.
Well, he's not the only person that knew where it was set up because Sammy told him where to set it up.
I suppose this is true, but he her immediate suggestion is this picture is from 2 weeks ago, and without even knowing that he is the one that did this, he just he goes with it, and it's just yeah, maybe it was from 2 weeks ago.
What an idiot.
He's like, oh yeah, that time when I had a baseball bat in the locker room and snuck up on her while she was in the shower, just for funsies though.
You know, like friends do.
Yeah. And in this, like before all of this, he's not at all suspicious of Sammy and her showing up, insisting that he show her the pictures.
He's not suspicious of anyone ever unless Alexa says to be suspicious of someone.
Yeah. So yeah, all of that starts happening. And then Herb, just in the middle of the night, I guess he doesn't have to work at the electronics plant tonight, where he stole all that equipment from.
Yes. And he was like, oh, it's so expensive. It's like $450 for this VCR.
Ah, amazing.
Remember the 90s?
Probably a Betamax. So no one saw you stealing electronics equipment? Okay.
A VCR.
No, because Theo was wasted
Oh, yeah.
at work.
Oh, and he does Theo's work for him at work when he gets wasted.
Yes.
So he does double the work.
I mean, the 90s were definitely a time when it was much less acceptable to be like, this person is like really struggling. They need some therapy. Now it's like, therapy. You get a therapy and you get a therapy. Everybody gets a therapy. But like in the 90s, it was like,
Theo
kids just need to power through it.
Yeah. And, you know, Theo's fine. He's going to his friend's house and getting drunk in armchairs and going to work drunk. And
Where are his parents? That was one question I had.
Well, I'm going to give his parents a pass because like their kid died in like a kind of horrible traumatic way.
Well, you'd
like
think
6
you'd hope your
months
other
ago.
kid didn't die.
Right?
I mean, yeah, but parents
Parents just don't understand.
just don't understand. But
my
like, I'll
90s
give his
reference.
parents a pass on like being super involved in his life because I'm sure they're also like working through their own grief process. But he's at Herb's house a lot, and like Herb and his mom are both like, "Yep, seems okay."
literally like drunk, passed out with like beer cans around him in Herb's house.
He's been there.
Yeah.
And he,
At one point, he leaves his gun on the front lawn.
in 1991, the drinking age was 21.
Oh, yeah, it was. I
It was
double
not
checked.
still 18.
I Googled because I wasn't
And so like Herb's mom is also like taking on the risk of something happening while this drunk teenager is at her house.
Maybe that's because Herb's mom had a little something happening with Theo.
They do live in a town
Oh, I hope so.
of 10,000 people. Maybe it's normal to carry around guns and drink and nobody cares.
That's
Okay,
true.
I am from a town of 11,000 people,
That's huge.
But people are woke now.
but it includes all the prisoners, so it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My hometown has a lot of prisons, and they count the prisoners in the census because you have to count prisoners in the census.
I mean, they live
They're
there. They ain't
people.
going anywhere.
Because
Whether they
they're
like it or not, they live there.
people.
Yeah.
And like that sort of thing did not happen.
Yeah.
Even in 1991.
in Christopher Pike's 1991.
Yeah.
It's a different situation.
I feel like the town that he sets up, the town that he describes, is a lot smaller than the size of the town he describes.
yeah.
He's describing like a town of 2,000.
My hometown, Nakusa,
Like,
Wisconsin.
I mean, and then at the
This
same
stuff
time, though,
definitely
there's a lot
happened
of
there.
things that I do not understand, like how these things were going on in this town, and it was just like nobody happened to notice. Like some of the plot points we get later with some of the backstory of Lisa and Alexa's activities. Like they were just super casual. Nobody noticed all of this stuff going on. Like I think.
Well, and a kid dies in a fiery car crash,
And then
high
another
on
one.
cocaine, and everyone just goes, "Oh, that sucks," and
Well,
moves on with their
turns out
lives.
they're
Like,
dead.
no,
I don't know. It's going with heroin right now in the suburbs.
That's true.
that's true.
People are like, oh, he died of an overdose. Okay. Anyways, moving on.
So Dare.
Right?
We all let Dare lying down.
Right. Oh.
Well, I did anyways.
So Herb is now driving over to Alexa's in the middle of the night and, figures out that it's Steven behind him. Steven gets out to kick his ass. And for the first moment, I cheer for Steven. I'm like, yep, kick Herb's ass.
Get him.
Get him. This is fine. I'm okay with it. But then Theo, how did Theo get there with his rifle?
In his car, drunk.
But how did he know? Did Herb tell him, like, hey, he's
was
not
he
gonna
just driving by?
I think there was like a brief exchange where he's like, "Oh yeah, I couldn't find my gun, and then my gun was in my seat," and like,
Yes. Yeah.
it just Theo's a mess. Everybody's a mess in this book.
Yep.
But he's a helpful mess in this regard.
He is.
Shooting at other people.
Because he's so hammered, he can barely walk, but he can drive at them while firing a rifle. Christopher Pike, you have never fired a gun in your life, and it's so clear to me that you're not capable of this.
Yeah.
And it makes me so mad.
A shotgun.
Yeah, a
also.
shotgun.
Not like a handgun.
Yeah.
A huge shotgun.
He's
one
like
armed.
driving with his knees.
Yeah. Hanging out the side and fires at their feet, but doesn't hit them because he's that good of a marksman while hammered. I'm gonna need a second. Sorry, excuse me.
So
Very
then
upset.
Steven runs off with the photo.
Yeah.
He's like, yoink photo, check you later, bye.
All right.
And we're going to take a moment to like be outraged at this while you listen to an ad for Sexy Hacker.
SexyHackers.com.
I hope you enjoyed that word from our sponsor, SexyHackers.com. We sure did. We are back talking about Christopher Pike's Die Softly. When we last left you, Theo was
A superhuman.
a super good
like,
marksman while super wasted, and Steven
Theo John Wicked in the middle of this
stole
book.
Yeah, just John Wicked everywhere.
I thought he missed. I thought he was aiming and missed. Like he didn't aim to miss. He missed because he wanted to hit them, but he missed.
He does
I
have a
thought he
fairly.
missed on purpose.
He has a fairly cavalier attitude about murder, so
He really does. He wants them all dead. He
whatever.
thinks they all killed his brother. So
That's
he
true.
does
He's-
hate them. The Alexa, Lisa, Steven, he thinks that they killed his brother, so he does not care.
That's fair.
So I thought he was like, shoot him. That's my best friend. And then he missed because he's drunk.
He does at some point say like, "Oh, I'll be the first person in line to be a character witness for the person who killed Lisa."
like,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he, yes.
all right then.
That's right.
Jeez, Theo.
He angry.
Now, yeah. So now Steven's run off with the photo of naked Lisa being crept up on by Alexa with a bat. Crazy. Yeah, kind of bananas there. But there's so many WTF moments in this section of this.
There
book,
really are.
Yeah.
as we were going through it. I think my biggest one was when they were talking about the water balloon scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That made me so angry.
So way back when Herb and Theo and Roger and Sammy hiked up to a ravine and they were hurling water balloons at cars that were driving by, and they hurled them at this Porsche and, nailed someone in the face with it, which almost caused an accident. Extremely dangerous, you guys.
They're on this. Yeah, they're on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Who can we murder today?
And they had the conversation before they started throwing the water balloons, like, if we throw a water balloon at someone and it hits them, they're going to go off the cliff. And they're like, no, it'll be fine.
Right?
Yeah, they
Like,
joke
they
about.
knew.
Yeah, they joke about wanting to hit somebody on a motorcycle. Like,
That's horrible.
yeah, they're a bunch of messed up kids.
Right? And they do
And they were in high school.
old
Like-
enough to know better.
When I was in grade school, we used to throw, like, apples out into the road to get cars to run over them. And, like, the cops came and told us to stop.
Yeah, they were also they were drinking while they were doing this as well, because that's the only thing
So
that
much underage
teens do
drinking in
in
this
this book.
town.
They
Yeah.
drink and they shoot things,
Are y'all okay?
and they drive off ravines.
Right. So Herb says that when he saw Roger's car for the in this accident, the first thing he looked for was signs of water balloons, like that had someone done it.
Yes.
But the only thing he saw were ashes and cocaine. How much cocaine do you think people carry around? They're
Also,
just like
if
bags of
cocaine
it
is
spilled
in a
out.
fiery car wreck, I kind of doubt
We
it would
get some
continue
crack
to
and then it
powder.
burns away.
It would, it would like
Boy, yeah.
Maybe that
boil down
explains
into
a lot
crack.
about Herb, is that it did like burn up into crack, and Herb just got like a real strong OD of crack, and that's why he is the way he is today.
No memory.
Just burn that brain right up.
Which PS is that how you make crack? I don't
Yes.
Yeah, you like cook cocaine
So,
down into.
yep.
Yeah.
know. I'm
And
a
when
bad
people are
cook.
like big addicts, that's what they do because it condenses it.
Oh, concentrate. Sure.
Yeah,
You
like
can also
concentrates
smoke
it.
cocaine, just straight smoke cocaine. I've never done it. I'm just saying you can.
I feel like that would be so
Disclaimer.
painful.
Yeah, like it just all of it just seems like it wouldn't be very comfortable.
Right. So,
The whole shebang.
right. But yeah, when you look around a car accident, that's what you see definitely is just piles and piles of cocaine. That's totally normal. Sure.
That seems
Does
like a
he
waste
say
of
that?
money.
I don't.
Yeah, he literally talks about how all he saw was ashes and cocaine.
Yeah.
Which is
See, I thought it
also
was like
gonna be my band
metaphor.
name.
Like
Oh.
This is Christopher
I'm
Pike. There's no
seeing
such thing as
cocaine,
metaphors.
like because she's burning up because of her addiction. I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess I didn't take it literally.
He literally looked around and saw that. Nope.
Just all the cocaine. Look at all this cocaine.
Where has it been my whole life?
Which,
Why
ooh,
wasn't I there?
I hate to debunk this bonkers situation that we're creating. Is it possible that the piles of cocaine were there intentionally to make sure that his death was viewed as a cocaine-related accident?
Ooh, yeah, I think that's
I
probably
cracked
more
the case.
likely. Yeah.
Those bitches be crazy.
For sure.
Of just like, because it was their first murder, your first one's always a little rough.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
I
So-
don't know if I believe it was all of their first murder.
It's not.
It wasn't. But also, are they just carrying around like satchels full of cocaine?
Satchel O
From
coke.
the sounds of
This
it,
is
kind
what
of,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Yeah, that does
Dumping
kind
it
of
out,
sound
shaking
like
around.
what's going on.
Why has this
there,
never
yeah.
happened to me?
Just running
Someone
into
could
people
just
with
drop off
satchels
a
of
satchel
cocaine.
of coke, please. No, please don't. And if any cops are listening,
We didn't mean
we
it.
didn't make that joke.
There is actually a documentary right now on Netflix called Cocaine Island. This guy finds a huge duffel bag of cocaine washed up on the beach, and then he buries it, and then these people are trying to find it.
Oh.
It's interesting.
Nice.
All right.
Treasure hunt.
I'm trying to plug other stuff.
I don't want. Yeah, like I don't think any of us really want a duffel. I just feel like if you had a duffel bag full of coke, it would probably cause you more problems than it would like
It
give
caused
you
me
benefit.
so many problems.
So many problems associated with a duffel bag full of coke.
We had the issue.
First of all, how to launder the money.
That's true. That's a big
I've
one.
got some ideas.
You'd have to buy so much packaging.
If you're a cop and you're listening, this is all speculative.
It is. So like last
None of us are laundering money.
No, not at all. But last year when we were moving, we were packing up and I ran across this bag amongst our cooking stuff and I pulled it. It was this huge plastic bag and I pulled it out. It's just a powder and it just said cocaine across it. And I was like, what the heck? Until I remembered a sketch from a comedy group that a couple of us work with where we had a sketch where we found a ton of money and we just bought a ton of cocaine with it. And clearly the prop came home with me and it just sat in the back of our cabinet and we were trying to like clean up because the realtors were coming to look at the house and stuff. And I was like, Marcus, what do we do with the cocaine? We'll never get rid of all of this. And he's like, well, it'll help me pack faster. I was like, oh,
Scratch it out and say baby laxatives.
terrible. So
That's great. We have the bucket, the prop bucket that just says lube on it. So
that's another odd one.
The big bucket o' lube prop lives at my house.
We have W2F things in our own homes. Yeah.
Anyways,
Lots of those. Yeah.
I'm team driver who got hit by a water balloon and then brandished a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they threw water balloons at these people as they were driving around the curve, and then one of the cars stopped and they like pulled out a gun and were like,
Which
who's doing this?
we
and started
later
firing
find
their
out
gun
who that
wildly.
was.
Yeah.
I'm team those people because how dare you?
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
rough.
dangerous. Also, like, you don't even. It'd be one thing if it was Theo being like, I'm going to throw water balloons at these people who I think killed my brother. But they were doing it just at random people.
Well, and this is the flashback is before Roger died.
Yeah, Roger was
So
involved.
like they're just chilling. That's
Yeah.
just fun, I guess.
Yep. And then, so then
I feel like you can tell that we're older reading this because when I was a teenager,
so
I would have been like, whatever.
that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
probably.
let's throw a paint can off of a overpass. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
Which I feel like is equitable to them.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Like when I was a teenager, that wouldn't have even been on my radar. Like I would have skimmed right over that. And now as an adult, I'm like
you
hyper
doing?
fixated on it. Like, how dare they?
See, that was me as a youth too. Like I once got grounded for leaving I went to like a basement rock show with my older brother and one of my friends, and people were smoking marijuana. And so baby me decided the best choice in this situation was to leave the party. This was before cell phones. So leave the party that I had authorization to go to with my older brother, with my friend and one of my brother's female friends and another dude who I later became friends with, to go play Monopoly at his house because I was too nervous to stay in the place where they were smoking marijuana. But I got grounded because we didn't have cell phones, so I couldn't tell them that I went somewhere else. And they did not believe me that I was playing Monopoly at somebody's house at like 10 p.m. on a Saturday in like middle school.
I wouldn't have believed you either.
I literally was playing Monopoly because I was so stressed
Mom.
out. Like, I couldn't handle it. I needed to go somewhere and do something safe, like play Monopoly.
Oh.
I feel like that's a pretty common thing for like parents to be like, you did a totally innocent thing, couldn't possibly. You must have been doing something naughty.
Yeah, and really it's just like, no, I was just the most nervous child. Like, I promise.
Every mom thinks you're a huge slut until like
My
you
mom
turn
watched
30.
a special on the news about how to tell if your kids were smoking pot. First of all, I had smoked pot. I just didn't like it. And she's like, I can tell you're stoned. And I was so irritated. I was like, get out of my face.
Stop watching
I don't
Dateline,
think my
Mom.
parents
She
ever-
interrogated me for like
Yeah.
20 minutes and never, I'm like,
I don't think my
Okay.
parents ever thought that I was doing drugs, but they definitely thought I was like sleeping with all my friends. They thought I was having sex with all my friends who were dudes. And I was like, but I'm making out with all the girls. No, I was making out with everyone because that was the kind of kid I was.
I mean,
But I wasn't sleeping with any of them.
Thank you.
see? And all of our parents were more involved than a single parent in any of these children's families in this book.
Right.
If Herb's mom does like make him dinner, I guess, every day or something.
that he's
but-
not hungry for.
Yeah, but also just like lets him meander off in the middle of the night, like because he comes home like from work at one point and then goes somewhere, and like it's
Well, and she does say like,
mean, he
hey,
is 18.
no, you can't. No, don't
This
go
is
out.
true.
No, you shouldn't. No, stay home. And then as soon as he's like,
Going to Lexus.
I'm going to see a girl, she's like, okay, bye.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank goodness you're not staring at me anymore. So yeah, go, honey. You little creeposaurus, you. Oh no, thank you.
Oof.
Yep. And was it Lisa's parents were off at some hotel when she died in a fiery car
Because
crash?
they're rich.
Yes.
Clearly. Yeah. And Alexa's parents.
Well.
We will dive into that next
Yeah.
time.
There's a lot to unpack there. Far too much to get into right
Of course,
now.
there's only one sentence about it, so you have to make a lot of inferences.
Yes. Yeah. That's one thing we breeze right past after the 7 pages of photography details. We get like a hot 2 sentences about Alexa's buck wild family situation.
Yeah. Oh, delightful. I miss these from my childhood. These lovely moments of like thinking about this stuff and being embarrassed reading this stuff as a kid. Like I knew I wasn't supposed to read this. Like it was like, oh, I shouldn't have been. Oh. Did you guys have any moments in the book where you were like embarrassed that you were reading this in public or that other people might see that you were reading this book or like your
I
blush
think
moments?
The worst for me was I was definitely like sitting on the couch with my husband, and one of the first chapters of the book starts out with I have it in my notes actually because it's that insane. His blood was hot, his thoughts were naughty, and I was like,
That's actually the first 2 sentences of the first chapter.
yeah, which like yuck. And then I had a moment of just like kind of feeling like a dirty old woman reading this teenager and all of his like horny thoughts for 250 pages. That was the worst for me. Is like as an adult woman reading this creeper teenager's like fantasies, you feel a little
For me, when I started reading it, like the contradictions just really got to me. They were like, he never spoke and didn't have much to say, but he was very good at speaking. What? Like, it would just be complete opposite. Like, did you forget you just said that he never spoke? And then you're like, he gives public speeches all the time. I mean, that's a fake example, but there was a bunch in here and some really bad metaphors.
Yeah. I
Christopher
started
Pike
keeping
has
a
the same
list
disease
of every
Herb has.
time Herb was being a creep.
Yeah.
And I gave up like halfway through the book. I was like, oh, it's too much work. Because it was a lot. But I read most of it at home. Because it is a quick read. If you're thinking about reading along,
I recommend it.
don't worry. You can finish it by next week.
If you'd like to maximize your experience, do what I did. Have bronchitis and be whacked out on cold medicine. Ooh. It really enhances things, let me tell you.
Yes, if you're thinking about reading along with us, please do. Your local library may have a copy. If you're in the Milwaukee County Federated Library System, they do not. I checked. But if you are going to read along with us, you'll be able to join us next week, Wednesday, for the next episode. You don't need to read the book to
But you
join
can.
us, but
And
you
maybe
can.
you should.
Yep.
Here on sexyhackers.com, sexyhackers.tv.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe if you're on the YouTubes, wherever. I'm going to point, one of these is pointing at them. If you're listening to us on a podcast app, give us a subscribe, give us a 5-star review.
Yes, especially on iTunes.
Yes. The purple play button on iTunes. And we will return next week for more Christopher Pike's Die Softly on sexyhackers.com.
See you all next week.
See you next week.
sexyhackers.com Stream Team.